Hi guys, so this is the second video that I wanted to make talking about the ZX10R rear shock swap for the SV650. In the first video I went over the shock itself and also how to readjust all the settings to default and also some of the benefits of actually doing the swap. In this video I'm just going to be going over the different tools that I'll be using, and then we're going to go outside and I'll show you step by step how to actually put it on. So the first thing you need is obviously the rear shock itself. As I mentioned in the first video, the best year to get is the 06-07 ZX10R rear shock because of the way the shock reservoir is angled relative to the shock. It's exactly perpendicular, whereas other years are angled up or down, and that interferes with how your SV is built. And besides the shock, you also need the upper and lower mounting bolts. You could use the upper mounting bolt that's already on your SV, but for the lower mounting bolt you definitely need the ZX10R specific lower mounting bolt because the SV one won't have the right clearance. Yeah. So for the tools that I'll be using, I'm going to first prop my bike up on my rear bike stand, and then for the front wheel I'm going to use this zip tie to compress the front brakes so that my front wheel doesn't accidentally move when my bike is propped up using the jack stands. And I'm going to be using these pliers to actually remove the circlips around the rider foot pegs so I can flip them over and then use these jack stands to support the bike at the rider foot pegs. So by supporting it at the rider foot pegs instead of just using the rear bike stand, I'm actually relieving the SV rear shock of all tension so that I can safely remove it. And I'm also going to be using these wrenches and a set of sockets to actually remove the mounting bolts for the SV rear shock, and also to tighten up the ones that will hold the ZX10R rear shock in place. So that's basically all the tools I intend on using. I know some other users on the SVRiders forum had a little bit of a clearance issue with the shock reservoir hitting the battery box. So if that happens, then I'll just cross that bridge when I get to it. I don't expect it to be too hard to remove the portion of the battery box that I don't need. So I'll see you guys outside. Okay, so now I have the bike set up and ready to be worked on. As you can see, I have it up on jack stands. I first put the bike up on the rear stand, and then I flip these the rider pegs over. And to do this was really easy. First, you just have to remove the circlip and then pull out this pin, and then flip the pegs, put the pin back in, and then the pegs will no longer move up above this 0-degree mark. And so that allows me to support the rear of the bike fully using these jack stands on the rider pegs. And I did the same thing on the other side. So you can see my bike is fully supported by just the jack stands on the rider pegs. And finally I zip tied the front brake lever, so this prevents the front wheel from actually accidentally rolling forward or backwards when I'm working on the rear shock. So really, to remove the rear shock you just have to undo 3 bolts. The first one is right here, so this allows me to slide this dog bone down, and then I'm going to undo this one to remove the lower mount, and then up here to remove the top mount. So I'll start the video up once again once I remove those 3 bolts. Alright, so I have a pretty good lessons learned here. So the first bolt I tried to take off was the one right here, which holds these 2 dog bones up like this. And when I was unscrewing this one, I found it really difficult to pull out the bolt in order to get these 2 to come down. And so I have the bolt right here. So it was really difficult to pull this one out. And I realized after the fact that I got it out is that this bolt is actually holding up the entire weight of the back swing arm. So when I knocked out the bolt, this whole swing arm just fell straight down. So when you're doing this, make sure you actually keep the back end supported by the rear bike stand. It makes pulling out the bolt a lot easier because the 3 holes that are keeping this bolt in are aligned when you keep the rear bike stand on to the spools. So make sure you keep the swing arm supported up. It makes makes this job a lot easier. I got it out by using a hammer on the other end, and then the bolt just flew out and the whole swing arm just fell straight down. So that's just not the right way to do it. So when you're taking this bolt out here, keep the rear swing arm supported. Okay, so I'm going to continue to remove the upper and lower mounting bolts on the shock, and I'll restart the video there. Alright, so I've removed the upper and lower mounting bolts on the SV rear shock, and I've taken it completely off, as you see here. So this is the OEM SV rear shock, and I've tried to put the 0607 rear shock, 0607 ZX10R rear shock into the SV, and you can see there's definitely a clearance issue with the rear shock reservoir hitting the battery box right here. So I'm going to have to remove this piece right here in order to get this shock to fit. I was hoping I wouldn't run into this problem, but looks like I'm gonna have to modify the battery box. So once I get this piece off, I'll restart the video and let you guys know how that went. Alright, so I've removed the battery cover that was blocking the way of the rear shock reservoir. So this is the cover that I was talking about before. This piece was really tricky to get out. None of the bolts were actually really on that securely, but because of the angle of everything, it was very tricky and pretty annoying to try to get at these screws. So there's 3 screws holding this cover on, okay? These 2 are on the bottom, so these 2 are on the bottom of the battery box, so here and here. And because of the way that's angled, you have this piece blocking it, so you can't directly get to the bolts. So what I did was actually use this piece. This piece can be found in your SV650 toolkit, and it's skinny enough such that I can angle it like this and just loosen it like this. But even then, you don't get a really good grip on the bolt, so just be patient with it and it'll come out eventually. And the last bolt up here, actually, you have to lift the fuel tank to get to, and that one is also angled pretty awkwardly, so just be patient with it. For that bolt, I used just an extra long screwdriver, and I was able to get it out slowly but surely. So now I'm going to install the ZX10R shock, and I'll restart the video once I get the upper and lower mounting bolts on. Alright, so I finally finished installing the ZX10R rear shock. Took a lot longer than I thought. It took me about 2.5 hours now. I think the hardest part was getting that the back of the battery box off of the bike because of the weird angles of the screws. A couple things I want to note. So these dog bones, at first it looks like it won't fit the new shock because the ZX10R shock is actually a little bit longer than the SV shock. But what you want to do is you want to actually lower the swing arm a little bit more, and it actually fits, as you can see here. So this is what it looks like, complete, and I think aesthetically it looks a lot better than the SV shock, but that's my own personal opinion, I guess. So if you guys have any questions or comments on how to do this install, feel free to leave a comment below or send me a private message, and I'll definitely get back to you. Thanks.